Holy shit. We made it. You made it. This is the Stonefall Postmortem. Mike won't be joining us, unfortunately, but everybody else is here. We are going to talk about the Stonefall scenario as a whole. And we actually have the scenario writer here with us. Would you prefer if we used your real name or...
Yeah, it's Talison. My name's Talison. You can call me that. That's what I'm put my server nickname is, so avoid confusion.
How you doing, man?
I'm doing well. I'm doing really well. I'm so excited to be a part of this postmortem. I've really enjoyed the couple of episodes that I've been able to listen to. Finished up episode 4 this afternoon before hopping on this call, and can't wait to hear the full release and see how this story wraps up for y'all.
Well, you're going to get some ideas of what went down, considering that, as always, it's Delta Green, so some crazy shit always goes down. I guess what we're kind of do is I do have some questions that I wanted to ask you about the scenario, which it can be found online, everybody, as Operation GIDDYUP, and as a longer name that it escapes me at the moment, but it's about blood red soaked fields. It's something along those lines. I'm so sorry. I can't recall that off the top of my head. But we'll just kind of, I got some questions. If the other dudes got some questions, we'll kind of just go from there, and we'll just have a conversation. So I guess I'll start this off with, so just generally, like, what's your background with tabletop role-playing games, and how did you find Delta Green?
Okay, yeah. Well, I started playing Dungeons and Dragons 4th edition when I was 18 years old. And, immediately, pretty much fell in love with the hobby, played in my first campaign, as a elf ranger, very classic. Mm-hmm. And, from that point, it was like summers were spent in the basement with my friends doing 12-hour campaigns over the weekends, the sweaty teenager type D&D. Yeah. And from there, I started branching out a little bit, started playing some other games, and found Delta Green, I think sometime in the late 2010s, it must have been. And yeah, I've always been a fan of the kind of paranormal investigation genre. I love the X-Files. And so it was a natural fit. I started playing in some sessions in the Night at the Opera Discord server, which is, one of the best kind of gaming culture, pickup gaming culture servers I've ever been on, and decided to submit for this contest a couple years ago. I've written some stuff before, hadn't had a couple things published, but this is the first time I've been able to really sit down and engage and have a conversation with people who played through the content that I wrote. So I'm very, very excited to be here.
Hell yeah, man. And speaking of that, about horror generally, so you've always been a fan of the paranormal and fan of X-Files. Full disclosure, I'm probably the only one in this group who doesn't really engage with horror media. That's not really my thing, but it's, the drama, the tension, and intensity is where I kind of hone in and focus on things. So that's kind of where my angle of stuff comes from. So, but no, I'm pretty sure all of us started with D&D to a degree here, That was my start. It was 5th edition for me, but I can't speak for the other guys unless they want to speak.
We just started running some random ass homebrew stuff, and from there on, after playing through a homebrew system of a friend of ours, we just went in all different directions, randomly testing out every single thing that we got our little grubby, sweaty hands on. And I think D&D was also one of those who stuck because at the time with the big like 5e boom and all of that, everyone was playing it left and right, so it was really easy to get like advice and other people and all of that. And then after some time, nobody really wanted to play it anymore, because we all also, like, I'm also someone who doesn't really engage with horror beyond the TTRPG stuff. So we just branched out and went like, oh, horror's kind of cool. Like, I hate seeing horror movies. I don't like playing horror games. But if I'm the handler, I can fuck over all of my players.
Yeah, you're very good at that. I'm just going to throw that out there, given what the first thing that you ran for us, which will be released at a later date for everybody to hear. That's a side opera that Lukas ran for us that will be coming, Jesus, probably not till later this year, given how we release everything. But yeah, the other guys, same thing, D&D start out with, or did you just go right into Delta Green?
I played like D&D and Delta Green kind of at the same time.
Shit.
Like it was the same year that we found I was introduced to both. I knew about D&D obviously before that, but actually playing it was kind of both. And then I had more luck finding people to play D&D with, so I played quite a lot of it. Shout out to all those people. I love you so much. But I love Delta Green. It feels very much like home to me. I really like embodying actual people, if that makes sense. Like somebody very grounded. That's always what I liked in D&D as well. And I think if you know me, I talk about this endlessly. I really don't like combat. I fucking hate it so much. Delta Green has very little combat because you shoot and you die. That's awesome.
Or
I got vaporized in my first game with Max. Hell yeah, so good.
Wow.
Didn't have to do shit after that.
Well, that's what happens when you encounter a manifestation of Itlashua underneath Mount Rushmore.
Yeah.
So
let's not talk about that one.
That was an entire squad wipe, by the way, Talison.
Yeah.
First thing I ever ran for
Wow.
most of these gentlemen, except for Jan. Jan was an observer for some of that. Mike was part of that. And then, So, that was a good time, though. That was definitely a good time. Jan, I guess before we move on, if you wanted to talk a little bit about your D&D or just TTRPG experience.
So I kind of had a weird one where I didn't start playing tabletop until I was already, I want to say my first session of D&D, I was 19 years old. And it was playing Forgotten Realms setting 4th edition.
Wow.
And back in the bygone years of 2009.
Jesus Christ.
Oh God, you were 19 in 2009.
We're the old fuckers of this group, man.
I was about to say,
Old.
I started playing when I was 19 too, but that was 2020
We're
or that was
fucking old.
2019.
Me and Jan are fucking old, okay? Like, and I say old, and that's.
But then,
go on.
Yeah. No, I'm sorry, but no, my introduction to Delta Green is kind of interesting because I find that outside of kind of older players, but even then, like among some of the older age-wise players, their introduction was the revamped version. They don't really do editions, but I colloquially call it Delta Green's 2nd edition. The post 9/11 changes. Where my introduction was the original 1990 source book.
Oh shit!
Wow.
Okay.
Yeah.
I didn't even know
and that was
shit.
And it's basically the same system, but tone-wise, it was very different. Where in the 90s, it definitely was more of that, really, I mean, I wouldn't necessarily call it pulp, but definitely kind of that grittier, definitely, like, for the tinfoil hat wearers among us.
That makes sense, yeah.
Going really hard in with, really old school UFOlogy, all the various cryptid lore, the lizard people, and then just as of course, after 9/11, any sort of setting that uses intelligence as a backdrop obviously had to change, just with the massive sea change that came with military and intelligence globally.
Patriot Act and all that other stuff makes sense. Yeah,
exactly. Yes. because that was, a lot of people who are younger who might be listening to us don't remember. Prior to 9/11, the intelligence agencies of the U.S. and the world were much more insular, much more isolated from one another. You didn't have this interagency cooperation. You didn't have this, you definitely had a intelligence and surveillance state, but not nearly as pronounced and as prevalent as today. So, first of all, you had the real life political changes, and then of course you had newer writers coming on who were more sensitive to kind of modern takes, and you kind of realizing where a lot of these older conspiracy theories are rooted in modern conspiracy theories, for that matter, are rooted in very unpleasant bases. And so moving away, moving away from those, and also, and I think they've done a good job, kind of preserving the overall tone and timbre, while at the same time making it more accessible for people who aren't necessarily willing to, do a deep dive in, into the less pleasant aspects of, H.P. Lovecraft lore or, real life conspiracy
theories. That is very true. Everything does trace back to that crazy fucking New England man at the end of the day.
I think what I like about this system is that you can play it regardless of, like, I think when people hear about Delta Green, they think that there's a specific, like, political affiliation with the system. But I found that you can play it no matter what. Obviously, when I play it, I'm insert communist anthem. But but like there's that kind of freedom in there to play these agencies as corrupt. Or to just play them as like these mythologized views that anyway, I'll shut the fuck up.
No.
I mean?
Yeah.
So we don't have to get into politics on that.
I mean, it is what it is. I mean, there is inherent political elements to Delta Green just by its very nature, and also if you know any background on the people who made Delta Green, it makes a whole lot of fucking sense. But I actually, so I'm gonna spin it back around in your direction, Talison. So I know that what you call Operation GIDDYUP, what we call Stonefall, that was part of the 4th annual Night at the Opera scenario contest, which was back in 2021. So this scenario is 4 years old at this point. So I guess what sort of inspired you to want to use the specific prompts that were part of that more than any of the other ones that were presented?
Yeah. That's a great question. Well, I remember looking through the list of prompts because I wanted to write something. I want to submit something for it. Looking at the list of prompts, and there were a handful that I remember. The first one that caught my eye was write a scenario in a place that you've lived. And I grew up in Stafford, Kansas, population 1,200.
Damn.
Yeah, from like kindergarten to 8th grade. That's where I lived. And, I thought about how, a lot of Delta Green scenarios are like urban, in cities. A lot of them are also like wilderness themed. But that drew my interest. And then thinking about trying to tie some of these other themes around it, in particular the themes Cowboys era, and betting on the wrong horse.
Oh, that makes sense, yeah.
And like a horrible place to have a gunfight. I started thinking about the Stafford, Kansas fairgrounds, right? And had these memories of like going to this fair when I was a kid, these dinky little fairgrounds, and going to the rodeo and the demolition derby, and wanted to do a little bit of a play on like the cowboy era, right? Obviously that means something in the context of Delta Green, and in the context of a rodeo, everyone's dressed as a cowboy. So I thought that could be a fun little kind of double entendre, as well as like betting on the wrong horse. There's gambling and horse riding, right? So from those different themes and seeing how I could like draw out double entendres, I guess, I kind of put together Operation GIDDYUP, Operation Stonefall, kind of like coalesced from those different like inspirations and thinking about kind of drawing on some bitter nostalgia of growing up in rural Kansas.
I'm assuming it was mixed growing up in such a small place.
Yeah. Well, how to say this?
To put it one way, I mean.
I left Kansas for a reason. I'll say
Fair
that
enough.
much. And we moved around a fair amount when I was a kid, but Stafford is the place that I lived longest, and it was without a doubt the worst town that I lived in Kansas as well. Just in terms of, kind of like a little bit politically hostile to, rather effeminate child such as myself. And like, the rural poverty there was absolutely brutal as well. Those things kind of end up compounding each other. And yeah, so, and despite it all, you have fond memories, right? I remember going to the Stafford County Fair at these fairgrounds, stuffing myself full of funnel cake, and then like throwing up after getting off the topsy-turvy ride, which actually is a fond memory.
That's a fucked up fond memory, but I'll take your word for it.
Yeah. So yeah, it was mixed, but I still have a nostalgia in particular of like the landscape, of kind of like the tranquil like emptiness of the Midwest plains and flatlands,
which I try to capture that as best as I could in my descriptions, because having only ever been out to the Midwest myself once back in like 2015, it's extremely flat, and that's what I recall. And I was like, well, if Iowa's as flat, then Kansas also has to be flat. So hopefully that was accurate.
Even flatter.
I know that I've driven through.
Undeniable
My
logic.
mother and I used to do road trips, and we went through Kansas once. And the main thing I remember about Kansas was that it just smells like corn, which sounds like like it, but it was really beautiful.
Fuck, it's so random.
I just remember it being very like flat and like a lot of corn, and the sky was very pink. But I live in the Midwest now, and I don't romanticize it anymore because it sucks.
Yeah.
But I feel like we captured that pretty well, especially like in the kind of long walk to and from the cemetery.
Yeah.
And we used maps actually like of Stafford when playing, and I think we probably will link those in the description.
Those
of the
were maps that were
episodes as
actually
well.
provided in the scenario itself.
Oh,
Yes,
really? That's awesome.
all provided.
And I will say that there were other parts that I feel like you really captured, like the small town feel. In particular, I don't know why this sticks out to me, but the diner scene at Joanne's Diner, when you all sit down and somebody orders chicken fried steak and somebody orders like mashed potatoes and chicken strips,
Corned beef hash.
With black coffee. Yeah. For some reason, I feel like that scene especially really captured kind of like that small town culture, like interaction with the waitress, the one phone at the counter, being interrupted from your meal for a call from Harley. But yeah, I thought y'all did a really great job of capturing
Great
it.
to that's appreciated. Hearing that. I don't really know what to say. Shit. I mean, like, as somebody who's sort of newer to DMing and handling, like, descriptions and putting yourself in the location is always like super important to me. Like, I always want to conjure up that feeling, and I like to go and give those descriptions to everyone to really like put you into that place and whatnot. And also food is a hell of a thing to help put a person into a place and whatnot. Chopped cheese is a thing. with our show that's kind of become in my mind somewhat synonymous with this. And ever since that whole arc was run, I've kind of got it in my mind. I'm like, I'm going to make food anytime I can in our game, in our podcast. Food's going to be a thing, because how can anybody, turn down food or not like food or not give a shit?
It's just a very good cultural signifier.
Yes.
It's a super grounding element. Obviously, like things like landscape, clothing, accents also serve as grounding elements, but food is just instinctively, there's a difference between walking in a diner and you get a Frito pie, or walking in a fancy restaurant and you get like sushi. Like there's just a fundamental difference in feel that sort of sets the framework that the players can move in, and the audience can sort of really center themselves there when they're given those kinds of descriptors.
I also just want to give Lukas particular credit, just with the whole gas station scene with Bart. Lukas, you're always a really good foil with me, at least I feel like you and I, we really play well off of each other, and like you tend to you pick up what I'm putting down pretty quickly, so it kind of makes those scenes like I could totally just, it's like, yeah, I'm gonna grab a Snickers and put it on the counter. I'm like, that's just so vivid, like that's another, I mean, even though it was just like a brief thing just to get his attention and whatnot, like it was a good touch, like little stuff like that is something that I really appreciate, getting from you guys.
Yeah, I regret I regret not having the time to get back and burn down this fucking stupid little bitch's house. Give him $50. It's gotta be worth something.
So that doesn't happen, by the way, Talison. That does not happen because
I tried.
Shit goes sideways at the fairgrounds, but we'll get into that a little bit further on.
Yeah,
just a little sideways.
Yeah. But I want to kind of
we fix it immediately. It doesn't take a while.
I do want to I want to bring it back in a sec. So, do you have a writing process, if at all, or do you just did you just? I mean, for this you had to sit down. But for anything else you've done, do you do any sort of prep as a GM or a handler? Do you just kind of fly by the seat of your ass like I know Jan and Lukas do? What's that like?
I also do that.
Fuck, I'm the only one who is.
So
sorry, go on.
So for something that I want to publish, my basic process is, it all starts with the spark of an idea, right? And that doesn't come out of nowhere either. Lots of times it's drawn from a movie, I watch an action movie or a horror movie or something. And I'm like, oh, that's a really cool idea, and try and, mix it up with, say you see this really cool scenario in an action movie, and you're like, I'm gonna take an aspect of that and integrate it into a fantasy setting, right? Kind of mixing unrelated things and try and massage them till they work. And when thinking about writing, I'm mostly thinking about locations and characters, right? If I can describe a location and I can describe the characters, that's kind of the basis of how I write. And when I'm doing something to publish, I'll get enough notes to be able to play test it, to be able to run it, and then I'd say 30% of the writing comes before getting it to the table, and then after being able to take it to the table, after playing around with it, you're really able to massage it out a little more and turn it, realize what's missing, realize what's not needed. And the real writing, I feel comes after playing it. That's my process of writing. It's that the best content comes from play itself.
Yeah, no, that I'll agree with that. I will say this just off the top. There is a portion of this scenario that I came up with completely on the fly because it made sense for the story and it wasn't part of the original, your original write-up. So here's, I guess we're going to kind of get, oh, by the way, I probably should have said this at the top, but heavy fucking spoilers, everybody. And if you've gotten this far and whatnot, what the fuck are you doing? Go back and listen to the rest of the arc. But anyways, so this kind of gets into a little bit more. I'm going to also kind of break down some stuff a little bit. So Jan, Lukas, Caius, I had alluded to you all having passed a very important check very early on.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, that check was when Mike as Eddie did a successful persuade on Harley to remain at his house rather than come with you guys. Because in doing so, he was able to find information on Spencer Dixon's family home in Anderson, Missouri. Which, that's what happened afterwards, Talison, after shit at the fairground went down. Dixon escaped. There was a quite crazy car chase. And they tracked him back to his family home in Missouri, drove through the night. Spencer Dixon had murdered his whole family, including his kid. And they took him out. And I will say, everybody rolled really fucking well. And this was after the fact that before I had started this scenario that I was like, oh, I'm going to strip some other parts out of this and I'm going to give this guy more health, right? More hit points. But yet y'all rolled really fucking well. And it was quite a short fight after the fact. So, but also the thing is so that if that persuade check had not been successful, Harley would have come with you guys. Whether or not you would have liked it or not, he would have followed you guys. He would have come, he would have found his way to ingratiate yourself with you guys. But the trade-off is Dixon would have likely escaped because Harley would not have had the time to find all that information out. So that was the very first major decision that happened that, and yeah, I know you're probably hearing this for the first time, Talison. The fairground went to shit. I managed to get in Grant going on the Ferris wheel, right? Had that whole scene set up. Lukas as Vince turned on the Ferris wheel. I don't know if your players had done that in any other playtest or not, but it was kind of brilliant, to be honest. But it didn't matter because Grant still got his shot off on Dixon. Dixon was hauling ass. The ACA folks were having a shootout with the police. It was a whole shit show, right? So
it was a horrible place to have a gunfight.
Absolutely.
But the thing is,
I mean, the best thing about this was we didn't really get involved in all of this. We kept a low profile throughout, or we tried. Harley, the fucking
he
idiot.
showed up at the fairgrounds, by the way.
Oh, my brain goes into hate mode every time I think about it. He called into like every single establishment in town to ask for us, and since Kimble's just insanely big, he was just asking about this huge dude showing up. So obviously that was the only part, except from us like literally being in town, where we could have been connected to anything. There was him calling around. And when everything went to shit, like I saw the scope glint when he was on the Ferris wheel because I followed him. And I just thought I would turn the Ferris wheel on again, mashing some buttons, maybe preventing the shot. But when he did shoot, everything went to hell because like the ACA people, the police, the like Dixon's
the Dixons weren't really not the Dixons. The Eisenharts weren't really that involved with the shooting. Is the thing.
Yeah, I mean, but they were still being fucking insufferable.
Yeah. Everything went down. Everyone shot at everything, literally, and
it was kind of helpful.
We just went out.
Yeah, we got to leave.
Yeah.
I did have a moment where I was really thinking about suggesting, well, let's go to the graveyard and Kimble will be near the grave and pretend like he's hurt and he'll be bait. And I'm so happy that didn't happen. I was like, he's big. A ghoul is going to want a big meal.
Well, here's the thing, too. if y'all had interacted with the Eisenharts, you could have prevented that shooting from happening.
That's fair.
You never did. You never interacted with the Eisenharts.
During the mission.
I mean, we technically did.
Yeah,
we just didn't do it very well.
Yeah.
I was gonna say that, not to spoil too much, but when you have the two least social people like being your faces, it does not go well. And that actually does loop me around to a question I had for you, Talison, and that is, I guess, kind of preamble is, I love, that I love the whole trope of like this, small town family who, they're a bunch of hicks, but they also have like a lot of pull and are basically the I said basically 5 times, but are the effectively the feudal lords of the small town.
Yeah.
And so I was curious, like, did you have, and then also to Harley Haney being, as much shit as we give him in character, Harley Haney being a very memorable handler,
which, by the
friendly.
way, that man succeeded on so many of his fucking roles, Talison, when I was playing as him.
Yes.
Like, he took out Brant. He was driving the car to chase Dixon as Dixon was swimming underground. Like, it was, yeah, that's a thing that happened. So, actually, to kind of piggyback off of what Jan was saying, I think, because, you weren't done. Go ahead. I'm so sorry.
ADHD moment.
That's fine. That's fine. What I was going to ask is, did you have talking about your inspirations? Did you have inspiration from your life in Stafford for the Eisenharts and Harley, or were those more, just from your own imagination, or were those drawn from elsewhere? I was just really, because they are just such memorable characters in what is a very self-contained operation.
Yeah. Thank you for asking that. Frankly, for the Eisenhart family, I really drew inspiration from Fargo, the TV show, season 2, the Gearhart family. That was like, I pretty much pulled that. I wouldn't quite say plagiarized, show. But a strong point of inspiration.
Yeah.
And I drew from. I thought back to like families in Stafford and classmates that I had, and I did draw like naming conventions from actual people that I knew, like the Eisenhart family as a name, and the members of the family. These were names of real people, but the characterization of them was drawn from Fargo season 2. That being said, for Harley Haney, yeah, he's like an amalgamation of like different dads that I knew as a kid, where it's like, when I was a kid and you like go into some dad's man cave basement and you're like, oh, this is so cool. And then you get older and I realize like, oh, wow, that was actually kind of like pathetic and sad type situation. That was my inspiration for Harley, is kind of like an amalgamation of actual men that I've known in my life. I thought of him as like, very, emasculated with like something to prove, because his wife is like this brilliant breadwinner, and a liability because of that, because he feels like he has something to prove.
Yes, that was something we all kind of picked up on, is very hardcore midlife crisis.
Yeah.
Which, how did I play him, by the way, in your opinion? You can be as honest as you want to be.
Oh, it was awesome.
Okay.
It was awesome. It was really fun. Yeah.
I'm shit with accents, except for like a southern accent. So that's like the only one that I can do somewhat decently. So given that, but to kind of piggyback off of that, were there things you wanted to add or flesh out more in the scenario, but you couldn't due to the timing of the contest or the idea not fully working out?
That's a really good question. There's a couple things actually. Before I answer that, I did want to bring it back to your question of your portrayal of Harley. I think one of the details that I thought you really nailed is Harley calling around to all of the businesses asking for the agents, because that's so on point. Like, he wants to be helpful and ends up becoming a liability in terms of like exposure because of that. So just nailed it in your execution of Harley. But to answer your question about like things that I wanted to include. I kind of wanted to include like a bunch of mini games for like fair games, you know, even if it's just like a D6 table on like the little fishing game where you drop a magnet into a pool of water and try and get something out of it. But I thought it'd be fun to add in some little like mini games just for people to, you know, play around with if they felt like it. And lastly, something that I wish I had added was like random tables of just like sensory moments, right? Like whether that's like a weather thing or, you know, just like little vignettes of, you know, you're walking down the street and there's a piece of roadkill on the highway, or, you know, you're walking through the fair and, you know, some kid is throwing up in the trash can next to you, or not necessarily random encounters, but not, like precluding random encounters, but mostly just like little vignettes, sensory details to kind of give a little bit more local flavor to the scenario that the handler could drop in.
Which that's actually on the face of it, like that may not seem like such a unique idea, but it is in the sense that it can help handlers out who may not be from a small town. You know, and they've only ever known a city life or whatever. Like, I've lived, I mean, I wouldn't say that the town I live in is small by any means, but it's not like, it's not a metropolis, you know, but, I did say to them, I was like, hey, you know, y'all can play mini games if you want. Y'all can do some of the carnival games, but they never took me up on it. I would have just made it up on the spot, but, you know.
Yeah,
right in the Ferris wheel. Come on,
they had shit to do.
Yeah, and that was part of my thinking too. Is like, okay, you know, this would be fun for me to include, but like, how useful would it be? Like, how my thought was, you know, unless I can write something more meaningful and better than what a handler could come up with on the spot, then it's probably better to leave it out.
Any thoughts on that, y'all?
I mean, you don't necessarily have the time, because it's like a one evening affair. And so Max always told us like, yeah, the ACA's in town, with Dixon in town, but tomorrow they're gonna be somewhere else, and they move during the night. So we were like, yeah, no time for some bullshit. we gotta hone in. We gotta get all of our ideas checked. So there wasn't really the option to just stop and, I don't know, throw some darts at some balloons or some shit.
I know Max had faith in us that we would solve it in the day, but I was convinced for like up until the end that we were gonna have to go to the next town and follow them. I was like,
I mean, again, not to spoil it, but you know.
I mean, it's not Postmortem. You can
if people
spoil everything.
But we've already said that there was a car chase, and go ahead.
Okay, so I was just saying the fact that it did turn into, I mean, it turned into like a 28, 29 hour affair instead of a 24 hour.
Oh, shit. I mean, because like I said, if y'all hadn't made that successful check, or if Mike hadn't made that successful persuade check, he would have escaped. That would have been the end of the scenario, you know? Like, sometimes in Delta Green, it's like it's one of those kind of victories that feels almost hollow, you know? Like, yeah, the threat's gone, but is it really?
Well,
you know?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, no. Delta Green failure is always an option.
Just how willing you're to take on the failure of it all and whatnot, which can be a hard thing for people who are newer to Delta Green to separate. But
yeah, I think a lot of newer players have a hard time not falling into like the kind of D&D idea of min-maxing. What I love about this system is that you're forced to handicap your players or your characters, especially the longer you play them.
Yep.
The more and more bedraggled they get, the less a tenuous, the more of a tenuous grasp that they have on reality. I think it puts a lot of people out of their comfort zone as players and even as handlers who aren't like accustomed to allowing their characters to suck. Both mechanically and also just as people. Like, what I really like about Delta Green is how you can play just a real jackass, like like Scott. Scott's rude as hell.
It works. It works.
But it works.
You know, like in like a D&D type game, if you're like the asshole thief that steals treasure from everybody, it doesn't really work. It doesn't really contribute to like the genre. But
you're like a jackass
absolutely
in real
works.
life.
It's fun.
Yeah, but it
It's
absolutely
fun at the end
works.
of the day.
Yeah.
Like, getting to experiment with different kind of archetypes and whatnot is, god damn it, I will never be able to escape the and whatnot accusations. Son of a bitch. If you go back and you think of listening to the whole arc I've given you so far, Talison, and whatnot is what I use when my brain is short circuiting trying to figure out what the fuck to say next. It's just the inevitability of it all.
Oh yeah.
But
it's a new drinking game. Like, we listen to the episodes, and every time Max says and whatnot, we just take a shot, and after like 20 minutes we're blackout drunk.
Every time I don't know what a basic word is, take a shot.
yeah.
You'll die.
Every time I have a nervous laugh after I say something, take a shot.
Yeah,
You'll die.
You didn't edit. You just today showed us a clip that you're leaving in of me not knowing it. Golf cart.
yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah. Oh, okay.
You know, the funny thing is, I have an excuse when I don't know an English
German, you
word.
fuck.
I have aphasia. I have brain damage, Lucas.
Okay, that's fair.
Shit. I kind of want to. Oh god, there's.
Maybe I kind of forgot.
Kind of forgot.
Sorry, dude. I kind of forgot you had brain damage.
Yeah, I was like, dare you?
Like, Lukas kind of forgot we were recording. You know, like it is. He fell asleep.
I didn't forget. I just fell asleep. My alarms didn't go off. That's the first time that happened.
Asleep in game.
It is the first time this happened. We can't give him shit. I think all of the rest of us, at least I have. I
haven't fallen asleep in a game. Shit.
I just want to say it's 2 a.m., so Jesus Christ.
We love you, man. And appreciate you being the crazy German who is, staying up late. Oh, shit.
I had a quick question for Talison. So I love ghouls. I fucking love ghouls so much.
Nice.
Love Delta Green ghouls. Every time I play, like every time I run something, I try so hard to include Agent Nancy. I love that. I love that girl so much. I would love to hear about, like, obviously this scenario had ghouls in it. Are there other like creatures in the lore that you tend to really like working with, and why?
Yeah. Well, I'll just talk about the ghoul briefly. I really wanted to do something different with ghouls, and Spencer Dixon is kind of this, he's mad, he's searching for like an identity. He's undergoing an identity crisis and like takes on this persona as a result of this, and he wants to be an all-star. He wants to be a celebrity, which I feel like is very different from typically how ghouls are portrayed in Delta Green. They're very secretive, trying to be very low-key, just want to live their life of eating flesh, undisturbed. So I had a lot of fun, like, writing this scenario around kind of like Spencer Dixon's character as this ghoul with aspirations of fame, not even fully understanding his own nature. But to answer your question more directly, other creatures in Delta Green, really it depends on the context. So right now I'm preparing a straight up like Alien X-Files style campaign for some friends.
Sick.
And it's the Greys. It's the Greys, which are really fun, you know.
I love those motherfuckers.
They're just so iconic, you know, in popular culture, and like uncovering like the deeper lore behind the Greys within Delta Green makes for, I think, really intriguing and horrific gameplay and storytelling. So right now it's all in on those baby
That's
Greys.
awesome, man.
Hell yeah.
So like, is that going to be like a full-on Majestic campaign, or 90s, or is it modern, or like it wouldn't be modern, I guess. So would it be in the 90s?
I think I'm gonna do modern.
Okay.
Yeah. There's a couple scenarios that I'm gonna do for it. And it's not all Greys, right? But like, do people know the shotgun scenario, Signal Smugglers?
Familiar with it. I haven't run it. I know that's like a beginner scenario, I think.
Yeah, it's not about baby Greys, but you know, it's about like interdimensional creatures, intelligent creatures who, you know, have their own agenda. And there's another shotgun scenario called Better Angels, which is about like a alien that has, once again, not a baby Grey, that is like crash landed and found by some children. So I'm pairing those with like a couple baby Grey scenarios just to do like a general like aliens type campaign, with the finale, I guess, gonna be the iconic Convergence scenario.
Nice.
Convergence
kind of like adapted to modern.
Nice. That sounds awesome, man.
Yeah, I think there's something very fun about almost human creatures. Obviously, I also really love completely non-human, incomprehensible stuff. That's very fun in a very different way, but near humanness is very intriguing to me. I personally have run Last Things Last like 5, 6 or more times. Just because you can fuck with that one so much, and it is that horror of like, she's almost a person, or is she or isn't she? What is going on with Marlene? I think it's such a cool space to play with.
A lot of interesting like questions and themes around like identity and humanity and personhood, which I feel like, you know, the ghouls and like Spencer Dixon's character like get into that as well.
Absolutely, yeah. And I think the hard thing with ghouls, I mean, depending on how they go, you know, because you can have interactions with ghouls that are completely normal, where they're not attacking you, they have no intention to harm you. I mean, Dixon was largely robbing graves. These are already dead people. He doesn't seem to be attacking or eating alive victims, obviously, until we get to the Eisenhart boy and his family at the end there. But it serves as like a bit of a conundrum with ghouls, I think, depending on how you play them.
By the way, speaking of Dennis Eisenhart, that whole thing was as a result of the Eisenharts were not happy with Spencer Dixon basically being a guaranteed gambling bet on the rodeo circuit. So the Eisenhart boy went to confront him, and it ended violently.
Yeah.
What was in that Coke lounge, Max?
Oh, it was just a gambling Coke lounge. That was it. It was just it was very much the elite of the surrounding area, I guess you could say. Like the rich people from around in different parts of Kansas can come out and gamble and kind of feel free to do some drugs. You know, that was kind of my whole idea with the whole corruption, the small town police being in on it with the Eisenharts. I kind of wanted to give this feel of like crime operating in plain sight, which, I mean,
it's also so real to involve the the police, and especially in a small town.
I mean, for sure. For sure.
Yeah, I will say that's something that I directly experienced as well. Just in term, not to the level of like corruption and like drug rings and stuff, but just like, you know, I had a kid that I went to school with whose dad was a cop, who, you know, would buy beer for other high school students so that, you know, they could go party, right? And, you know, another, you know, kid whose dad's a cop who, you know, for, you know, unpopular kids or, you know, people outside of like the towny circle, like, you know, you'd get pulled over for going 5 over the speed limit in town, whereas, you know, they're buying beer for their kids to go party and drink and drive, which itself was a like activity that people would do for fun. It's like, let's drink and go drive on the dirt roads as a thrill.
And it's definitely present in bigger cities, but small towns, it's super prevalent and easy to spot, especially if you live there. And I think especially if you're a teenager, teenagers get really good insight into it.
So not necessarily like the level of, you know, like full-on drug ring, gambling ring corruption, but, you know, I experienced the unequal application of the law due to, you know, personal ties.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah. I feel like some of us have experienced that. I can't say I have personally, but
no, let's rag on the cops right fucking now.
Right.
So I know you haven't heard the full arc yet. You've only listened to the first 4 episodes, but this is a question for you, and this will be for all of yous. Favorite parts, favorite moments so far for you, Talison.
I'll let the others go first.
Who wants to go first? I'll go last.
Oh, there's so much. I think I don't know if it necessarily stands out as like the best moment, but one that's memorable was in the beginning, like right at the airport, when Harley picked us up and was like, yeah, we just have this short little car ride of an hour ahead of us. And then he insisted on us not like talking and all of that.
Yep.
And throughout everything, I was so sure, or at the beginning, I was so sure that he's more than just a friendly. Like, he's someone who worked as an agent before. And then he fucking brought us into his house, into his little moon cave, where his wife brought us walnut banana muffins. He had a gun display on the wall and a fucking quote-unquote back massager.
I deliberately left out that it was a
around.
Hitachi because I knew these fuckers would go on a whole tirade about it. I brought that up later, and what do? They go on a whole fucking tirade about it. It was funny as shit, though.
Yeah,
You know it so well.
I do.
Yeah, so I think the whole scene of, like, me first thinking, like, okay, I mean, yeah, he's probably a retired agent. Like, the job can do so much shit with you. Until we are in his basement and he's literally begging us to be part of the mission. I was like, oh, Jesus fucking Christ. This guy is the worst fucking friendly in the world.
Yeah, but then he came through in the end, didn't he, motherfucker?
He only came through in the end because you rolled good.
Yeah,
His personality still was shit. I was on the way to that Ferris wheel when shit. No, I think I was even running to the car after shit had went down when he just came around with completely out of breath from running. Was just like, hey, so yeah, I'm now here, and I was like, what the fuck are you doing here?
I mean, he shot Grant too.
Yeah,
He saved your ass, man.
he did, yeah. That's fair, but also, what the fuck?
The man's got something to prove. Were there any other moments, Lukas, or was that just the main one that sticks out?
I mean, there probably were some, but like at the top of my head, and my insanely deep hatred for Harley Haney. I think that one just sticks.
I love it. Who wants to go next?
I suppose I will, if you don't mind me being a little long-winded.
Go ahead.
Okay. So, I guess narrowing it down to two. Number one, in the main scenario itself, I really liked basically the whole setup of the climax at the fairground. Where we're in the rodeo, we're watching Dixon on the bull, and then Eisenhart's son tries to snipe him from the Ferris wheel. Like that whole setup is crazy. That is just such a off the wall, bonkers setup that lends itself so well to things either being really awesome or going terribly or both.
Yeah.
And then the next bit, and this is specifically just for Max, but just an absolute masterclass in improv at the very end with that whole like last bit of the scenario
that I just pulled out of my ass with the Dixon family home.
Really well done,
Yeah.
dude.
I appreciate that.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, look, I've always also said I've never been a great person when it comes to improv, but handling and GMing.
You think you're not.
No, hold on. Handling and GMing as often as I have has made me better. It's always a skill. It's a skill. Coming up with shit out of your ass is a skill that a lot of people don't really know or understand or appreciate. And like it's super hard for me. But apparently Talison, when it comes to combat, I'm fucking laser focused and I got shit flowing so good, which that does not sound right. Stuff comes out of my brain so well, like it makes it easy.
Yeah.
So yeah, we'll get into that a little bit after all of that. But Caius.
I mean, I think just due to my playstyle, what I really like about playing, I really liked the quiet in between moments. So, the walk to and from the cemetery, that conversation with Scott, I enjoyed that. I enjoyed playing in that. I loved listening to the interaction with Bart in the gas station, the Eddie just fucking it up so bad at the tent.
Oh yeah.
I just those little moments, like when we as players are still trying to figure everything out, and it's these kind of seconds of quiet where we're trying to learn how to work together, and where we fuck up, and it's not life or death yet, but we know it could be. I love that always, and I liked that this scenario allowed for that. There were a lot of elements given to play with, like we went to the fucking the goddamn cowboy store. And Scott was just like, I don't want to fucking get a cow. And then he, of course,
crit succeeded
on
on his charisma roll.
It's like, okay.
You're going all in, selling the bit at that
cowboy
point.
up.
Right. It just works perfect. And I really, for Max's benefit,
No, you don't need to gas me up, dude. If you don't want to, it's fine.
No, but I will. Shut up.
Okay, all right, I'll accept.
The scene with the sun in the bathtub, my heart dropped. I was like, sit in the car all pretty.
Oh yeah.
Kimble was not having any of that.
Oh yeah.
But yeah, the sun getting torn into, ooh, not good for me or my my stomach. Like really disconcerting.
As much as I don't like horror shit, my brain is fucked up, and I'll just leave it at that.
Yeah, no, it felt.
Yeah, Kimble as a passenger princess sitting outside reading the little tome while we all have a absolute breakdown.
Oh yeah.
That was just rude as fuck to Haney when he came back out. That was great. I like that.
So for me, as the handler, that just worked out so fucking beautifully. All right. Holy shit. The fact that it actually managed to come together. Dixon running through the forest, swimming underground, and y'all are following this dirt mound from two different angles and two different vehicles. Harley stole a car, by the way, Talison. I had him do that. So
wow.
Eddie, Kimble, and Scott are all in this car with Harley, while Vince is in the Ram Charger coming at it from another angle by the railroad lines, right? And there's this moment where Kimble goes full on narcoleptic in the car passes out seeing Dixon just doing his thing, swimming underground. And then there's just this moment where Harley, Scott, and Eddie are all firing out the window at the dirt mound, and Kimble's just dead ass asleep from stress in the backseat of the car. To me, it was just fucking hilarious. It's a visual image.
Yeah.
And oh my god, it was great. It was funny. You'll get to hear it. It's fantastic, dude. Like the fact that it all came together how it did.
How excited.
Oh man, dude, it's so.
I can't tell you how excited Max was when I told him I was thinking about Kimble being narcoleptic.
Oh my god. It makes things so much.
I was like, hey, I'm gonna play a character that's a pussy. What if I also make it
fall asleep in the face of danger? I'm like, oh, this is perfect for horror.
Yeah. It's like, what if I just really
great.
dig
That's
into it?
great.
Yeah, and then you'll hear this eventually, probably before everybody else, because as you people are finding out, we record shit in the past so we can hear it in the future. Because this is not going to be out for a couple months from now. It is currently February 6th when we're recording this. But my last, I guess, favorite big moment was just coming up with the Anderson house, the Anderson, Missouri house on the fly, having you all drive there. And I was just coming up with all of that nastiness, all of that brutality and whatnot that Spencer did to his, or Baptiste de Monte did to his family. And yeah, the visual, I had him sitting in a bathtub chewing on the scalp of Spencer Dixon's dead. I can't remember if it was son or daughter at this point. Shit, it's been a hot second, but yeah, that's what they all go into, and they see this, and then Lukas rolling a fucking 8 on the sanity roll when he transforms, and then still losing 7 points of sanity. Oh man, chef's fucking kiss.
Wow,
it was great stuff.
Yeah,
it was fantastic. It was fantastic.
Great.
I know. Like I said, I wish you could have heard everything before we did all this, but the way this shit has to be done, it is what it is.
Yeah.
But also, you guys are just fantastic players, and I'm so fortunate that I get to do this shit with you guys. I can't say that shit enough. Like, just being able to do this and having done this for like the past, Jesus, it's going to be 2 years at this point, and like. It's just been so much fun, and I'm so glad that you guys are just down for whatever insanity I come up with, and whatever happens and whatnot. So thank you guys for just being awesome and shit, So yeah, given that we spoiled what happened for you, but obviously people who've already heard this, they already know. You already know. What have your favorite moments been that you've heard, that you've been able to listen to?
Yeah. Well, having listened to the first 4 episodes, my answer might change once I listen to the rest of them. But there are two moments that I think of. One moment was the kind of like observation and inspection of the stalker's trailer, realizing, wait a second, this guy has bodyguards or something. What's the deal with that? And then like peeking in the window and seeing him like scribbling in this tome.
Oh, that was such a good moment too.
Those are moments where it's like, okay, something is off here. Kind of like the first hint beyond what was shared in the briefing of like the agents starting to uncover things and investigate things and starting to discover like strange things and trying to come up with theories about what's going on with this guy. That was a really good moment. And I mentioned it earlier, but I think my favorite moment was the scene in Joanne's diner.
Yes.
When people reconvene. It was mentioned how food is creates such a sense of place in culture. And you all nailed that so perfectly. And like sitting in a diner, like sharing what information you've learned, trying to like theorize and figure out what's going on when the diner's phone rings and it's your handler on the phone. It's just so quintessential Delta Green. I just really enjoyed that. Felt very cinematic. And I guess I would also unite with the point about like, kind of the quiet moments being like really powerful in between the chaos.
Yeah, I think it's what makes like every Delta Green show or every show like this, whatever system it's in, you know, what really matters. Obviously the story is there, but so much of the story is what the table makes of it.
For sure.
So I think those moments are what really builds that tension. That rising tension can't be there if you're just in kill, murder, death, fire.
I mean, you say that, but given what is going to be coming quite soon after all this. Yeah.
We'll see.
I'm going to live forever.
Oh, no, I'm talking about what we've already done with, but we'll get to that at the very end because, you know, we got to do announcements. And Talison, you'll be the first person, well, you'll be at this point in time, you'll be the first person who gets to know what the next thing coming is, and it's very fucking exciting, but we'll get there when we get there. So
I mean, peeking at the events tab is also quite a spoiler.
Probably not, but yeah. I love the scenario, man. Just personally, for me, in trying to find the perfect starting point for what a campaign could be, you know, I was trying to find something that wasn't going to be too difficult. And by the way, y'all, there was this whole element where he could have summoned more ghouls that I did not include.
What?
Yeah. I figured I had to kind of turn the difficulty down, so to speak, a little bit, but I did bump his health up, but that didn't fucking matter because y'all fucking killed him. Yeah, Scott got the killing blow on him, by the way, after he blew through the wall from the bathtub, Talison, and then Scott blows his head off with a hunting rifle. So after Vince shot him with a shotgun. So...
Oh, very nice.
Yeah.
Fucker ate lead that night.
Yeah. And then they burned the house down, and Scott had to throw all of his clothes in the fire, and he was completely almost naked because he was covered in blood. It was just a hell of a scene. Like,
oh no, we all, as far as I know, we all.
Oh, that's
down.
right. You all burned your cowboy clothes. That's right.
Wow.
Not me. I kept my
That's
hat
great.
and my tie.
Oh yeah, because
I kept my bolo tie.
Kimball stayed in the car. So
Yeah.
Right.
But
I'm just imagining him sitting there, like it's a dark street. There's flashes of light and sound coming from the house, and he's just sitting there with a little light flicked on, like just thumbing through the notebook, just humming, like
Just whistling a little tune.
it's like, I hope they're okay.
Yeah, there's nothing going on inside there. It's fine. Oh, what does this little book say? Bam!
yeah, just in the distance, just like.
Yeah, but like, I was trying to find a scenario that wouldn't be like, it could be pretty lethal, but everybody rolled extremely well, so that wasn't really a problem. But also, there aren't that many scenarios just as written that are fan made that are set in the 80s.
Yeah.
And yours spoke to me because of that. Like, I always like consider location in a scenario. Like, I've written a scenario was set in South Dakota. I've written one that was set in Wisconsin. Another one that was set in fucking Maine. You know, like I consider these places. Place is important for me when I'm selecting a scenario, and because you can do a lot with a place being a character, and the way you were describing Stafford like really spoke to me on that level, and how I could get these guys to interact with this place and do different things, and just it was a small sandbox. It was a very good small sandbox.
Yeah.
And I really appreciate
Thank
that.
you.
So
Thank you.
I tend to not, I mean, you know, you follow what is there until you don't, you know, like that's just the nature of any written scenario. I feel like Jan has said to me before, as soon as it leaves the table, it's no longer mine. And like that's so true, you know, when considering anything, because once it leaves your hands, the changes are huge that can be made to it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because the table makes the game. It's a blueprint, but it's like an apartment. You know, like my apartment's the exact same layout as my neighbor's, but if I walked into theirs, I would be so lost.
Yeah, that's a good metaphor.
Because they function it differently. They put different furniture in different places, and like in this game, we will interact with different locations or different people. We will fail or succeed in vastly different ways. We'll have different approaches. You know, it's all about breathing life into words, which is why I love TTRPGs.
Yeah.
To say it, one way that I'd say it is, you know, this story is yours. You all made this story, and I just feel, you know, thankful that I was able to, you know, help give you a tool to, you know, create this story.
I hope we did it justice.
A little bit of a framework. You certainly did. I'm really enjoying listening. I can't wait to hear.
Hell
the rest
yeah!
of it.
So I just want to kind of real quick give a few quick shout outs, very quick, very, very quick, to a few people who have helped me and us along the way, and then we'll tell you what's coming up next. Just real quick, I want to personally thank Chris Hamjay for creating our music theme, Avery Alexander for creating all the other soundscapes that we have, Leaf for her fucking artwork, and our cover art, our logo, just everything. Lukas, your fiance's a wonderful human being. Tom Ogus, for being an early supporter. Tom Ogus, the handler of the Stories and Lies podcast, for being an early supporter, and also for some other things that he is going to be doing with our show. Chris at the Chaos Engine podcast for helping me get Pinecast set up and just answering all my questions about that. Thank you so much, man, for being fucking awesome. And I guess the final shout out is going to be to you, Talison, for creating this awesome scenario and having so much that we can do with it and whatnot. And also, thank you for joining us.
Oh, my absolute pleasure. I really enjoyed this. Was really feel honored to have been invited on to, you know, chat with you guys.
Appreciate you being here. And coming up, we have the fortunate utmost pleasure of having Caleb Stokes, writer of God's Teeth, be a guest player for us. So that's fun. That's going to be fucking fun. Lukas is going to be running that scenario. I'm not going to be a part of it, but everybody else will be. So that's what's coming up next, everybody. And also, at the end of this, we have a blooper reel. That's a thing we're going to be doing for you all to see all of our stupid, dumbass, shittery moments that I did not want to leave in.
Lots of, get ready for lots of pee.
Lots of guns inside of your urethra, you know, all sorts of unhinged fucking shit. Yeah. But until next time, guys, thank you so much for joining us on 9mm Retirement Radio, and we'll see you next time. Before I continue on, I have to urinate, but Lukas, you're up next, so get to thinking about things. I'll be right back.
I've never heard someone refer to it as a slug bug.
Really?
I still have no fucking clue what you're talking about.
A Volkswagen Beetle. What the fuck? You've never heard something called a slug bug?
Like
we just call it Keffa.
One.
Like,
you don't call them punch buggies?
No.
No.
It's slug bug because I mean, it's the same thing. It's slug punch. It's the same, but I guess maybe it's
one of those, right?
Oh, I get where the slug part comes from now.
No, it's slug bug is because it's you punch somebody if you see one and they don't see one first.
Yeah, but
it's a fucked up American thing.
I've heard it referred to as a punch buggy, not a slug bug.
I guess it depends where you come from, where you live.
Yeah. Well, at least we got past that.
So much of this campaign is going to be, was that around in the 80s?
I can attest to having called it a punch buggy, also a beetle bug. So, probably a East Coast
thing. Yeah, I mean, I've called it a beetle bug, but like a slug bug is what I immediately think of.
And now, we wait for Bug to return from taking a shit.
I see dead people.
Oh, he's back. Well, let me get something to drink in the meantime, so.
God damn it.
I got back. I got back right as you said that.
Oh, wonderful.
I am waiting.
Are you sure? Are you sure?
Very convincing.
I mean, you can razz me all you want.
Do you want to roll human? Or no?
I will absolutely roll
Okay.
unit for this. So, let me
This
go
is like when
ahead.
watching TV with my girlfriend and she just falls
I was
asleep.
about to say. It's like.
I am awake.
Like, are you watching the movie? Yes.
Ooh, I'm resting.
They just do.
Rest
I
my
don't
eyes.
know.
Failure.
Okay. Also. Fucking floating ass head. Yawn. Egg-shaped motherfucker.
You're also frozen, by the way, so you've been like that for a long time.
Oh, fuck. Okay. Oh, crap. Fuck. I gotta stop looking at this. I gotta get rid of this fucking chat for the time being. Okay. Okay. Whew.
Yes.
Reassert myself here.
This first season is fucking cursed.
Yep. But that cat is not. Look at that kitty. Look at that pussy.
Jesus Christ.
Yeah. Now you say that, but then she is beautiful though. Oh my goodness.
Right?
But,
Yeah.
I brought my two boys out, and you didn't say shit.
I haven't seen this one before. All right. You recall and you remember, and I have to deal with Fish because he's being a bastard. I mean, hey, you motherfucker! Get the fuck away! Shit!
Leave that kitty alone.
Justice for Fishy.
God, he's trying to get you a piece of fucking food underneath his tray. And it's wet and it's mushy and he's just being a piece of shit about it. And now this is going to be a blooper
He's
in which I
never
yell at
done
my cats.
Anything wrong.
Never in his whole life.
Free Fishy. You do have Jaunty
I
Cowboy
do
music.
have I have banjo
Yes.
music. Let's just say that. Da, 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 da.
I thought you were gonna start playing Cotton Eye Joe by Rednecks.
Where'd you come from? Where'd you go? The unnatural has you in a hold. I don't know. Just saying some shit.
Just out of nowhere we get- Yeah, my wife got this nice little back massager.
I mean,
Really helping me with the stress.
I
Sometimes
see.
it just randomly unloads though.
hey, I mean there were tissues laying on the floor, so use your own brain.
Mhm.
So
Oh, God. That man's just pulverizing his nuts. It's like, yeah, if I just hold
Nothing
it,
goes
if I
up.
hold it really hard on the base, it just sends me
okay, I'll take.
right off like a rocket
I'm taking
ship.
stock.
His
Nothing
nuts,
goes
his
harder than a
asshole.
little cock and ball
All right, I'm
culture.
taking stock of in case one of you dies. You have to play
Sometimes I just
Harley,
put the
so.
Uzi right up to my urethra.
Oh, okay. All right.
Jesus
Moving
Christ.
on.
All the tension.
All right, Borat. Okay, so
That fear feels
As soon
so
as this
good.
man sent this off, he's just gooning in his basement. So hard.
He's like, oh yeah, boys, I really want to help you solve the case. And then we go and he's like, let's see how average.
he just deep throated a carrot on camera. Everyone.
Oh, I wish
Yes.
I got this screenshot.
God damn it.
That's so
Shit.
funny.
Tough
Mike stepped away
luck.
for that. All right.
Damn.
Well, I mean, the gulp and go. Who wouldn't want to do it there?
Right.
No. The
Just
ideal
go and
place
go.
is the come and go.
Hmm.
They're actually.
Oh, that would be too obvious.
No, I mean,
Or
Behind
over to
the
Jiffy
dumpster.
Lube and
there actually
Behind
is a
the
chain
dumpster.
called Come and Go.
yeah.
Of
Yeah,
the
it is.
comments.
Yeah,
Spelled
you
with a
get
K,
the,
but yeah.
And there is one called Jiffy Lube as well.
Well, that's a auto body repair place, but
yeah,
yeah,
but it's still funny, Max.
it is.
So
It is.
No fucking way.
Now Lucas is googling Come and Go. I witnessed many when I took a trip out to Iowa so many years ago, and I have to pee. So prepare your minds. Not for me peeing, but
on cam, on mic.
look at my dick. No, I'm just.
Oh, he's whipping it out.
It's a shame that Lucas walked away because I was about to cut back to Kimble and. Good Lord, fucking hell! I'm closing the chat. I don't want to see Peter Griffin in cut off ass shorts. Like, god damn it! I'll wait till Lucas gets back.
Well, see, actually, that was one thing Max mentioned, how all the other, how the rides are free is, realistically, a fair, it would be a really cheap entry fee, but then you have to pay for everything else.
Capitalism in my Kansas.
Watch and learn, and they are instantly going like, yeah, fuck you.
Honestly, I kind of want to try it out because
powder room.
Scott looks
Can
at
I
the
go
kind
shove my nose in some cocaine? I promise I'm not suspicious.
What can I do?
Gets on knees.
Yeah, just officers, I'm sure we could come to an
Give
understanding
him the
here.
old Gluck Gluck 3000, So
I'll show you what I learned in
Oh yes, with the rice paddy farmers and such. So
we was in the NAM together. We was in the mud together. We watched each other piss and shit.
Yeah, I stroked him off a few times, but it's not gay.
No, that's
Brother's got to take care of one
was
another.
like
And
an hour and a half
his
ago.
hog twitched in my mouth real nice. Sorry. Oh, Max didn't hear that? Oh, that's going to
Max,
be great
you
for
missed
you to come back to.
I have no idea what's even happened.
Oh, that's gonna be wonderful while editing.
No, we're all going to hell. We're all going to hell.
Right.
Oh, I found another.
You've come
I
back
found one that's
to
been
Creighton,
made.
Garfield, and Odie, and 9/11 jumper memes is what we got going on here.
Odie is not
Or whoever the fuck the other dog is. I don't know. Just get it all out, Mike. Get it all out. Look at all the
I
pics.
found the best one.
Look at all the pics. Jesus
Like,
Christ,
yeah.
Lucas.
You guys, do it. Don't be a pussy.
I explicitly said that Kimble was a pussy, so I don't know what you're expecting from me.
Yeah,
That's fair. Honestly, that's
Yeah.
fair.
that fits. How does the bowl feel about this?
The bull doesn't give a shit.
I wish I could have got that on recording, Max.
What?
You doing the little dive.
Oh, this is you a balls hat. You open the vagina, you just sit it on your head. When you do this,
Jesus.
so
I need the visual.
you just wear her. I don't know. Anyways,
Boy.
Oh, God. Come on, man.
that's a long time inside joke of my friends, and I figured I would share it with you all. So, anyways, you see him seemingly
I
dive.
definitely needed more context.
You're welcome.
Delicious asbestos in the walls.
Oh yes.
The forbidden popcorn.
Forbidden snow.
I never got to catch Arizona Burning when it was still in theaters.
Wait, what? What'd you say?
I'm
Arizona burning?
Whoa, what? Yeah, Arizona Burning was. Whoops. No, whoops. Mississippi Burrito. It's
Raising
I'm sorry.
Arizona.
I pull her in for a kiss.
Oh shit! All right, and we cut to black. No.
Yep.
We
No. Yeah, whoa! Elena!
Oh, Jesus Christ! Let me see here. I'm trying to look up something real quick.
What are you, fucking commie?
No, shut up. You feel his hand touch your shoulder and just kind of rub it affectionately. Like a nice father to son gesture. I saw your face. I know you were thinking something else, you fuck. You sick fuck. Jesus Christ. God damn it. Another giggle to add to the blooper reel. So, what kind of food were you just given?
Can you guys stop fucking hissing at each other for 5 goddamn seconds?
There is a dull, faded yellow liquid from what you can see. It's not bright.
Piss. He's gonna inject piss in his veins.
What? I know.
Sorry.
No, dude, just now I
continue.
was cycling through the different colors in my head of which one to say, and then I was like, yellow seems fine. Oh, wait, shit, he's gonna say something about piss. So, yeah, what does Eddie order?
I usually get General Toes. I think Eddie's more of a boneless spare rib guy.
I'm sorry, General Toes? You mean General
bad.
So's?
If you're in New York, it's called General Toes chicken.
Is it really?
Yeah,
General Toes.
General Toes.
Oh man, we got some foot fetish shit up in this particular institution. Jesus.
I swear, that's how you pronounce it, General Toes. Right?
Is it? No, it's General So's, man. It's TSO. It's General So's.
Is it really?
Yeah,
My whole family and everyone I know.
they're fucking idiots.
Well, if you're in New York, Wait, there is a pronunciation guide on YouTube. Hold up.
Yeah, no. Verify. I'm just picturing a big fat Asian man with toes.
It's not even so. It's Sao. General Sao.
Ah, fuck it. Mine was closer than General Toes.
So we're both wrong. Mine's worse.
General Sao's okay.
Whatever. Eddie's getting fucking. Eddie's getting fucking spare ribs.